This is the history of the NFL Draft. Spectacle, awe, and sports. The full history of the NFL Draft, including a number of incredible facts. In the first 69 drafts, 15 Hall of Famers were selected with the number 1 overall pick. The best stretch of number 1 picks came between 1964 and 1971. 3 of the 8 selections were elected into the NFL Hall of Fame, including Ron Yeri, O.J. Simpson, and Terry Bradshaw. 4 of the others made the Pro Bowl, and the last one, Jim Plunkett, quarterbacked 2 teams to a Super Bowl title and was the game's MVP once. In the early 1930s, Stan Kostka had an incredible college career at the University of Minnesota as a running back, leading the Golden Gophers to an undefeated season in 1934. Every franchise in the NFL wanted to sign him, but since there was no draft, savvy Stan did the smart thing and he held out for the highest offer. Well, a free agent, Stan kept busy, even running for mayor of Inver Grove Heights in Minnesota. Stan's 9-month NFL holdout succeeded and he became the league's highest paid player, signing a $5,000 contract with the NFL team in Brooklyn, New York on August 25th of 1935. As a response to the bidding war for Kostka, the NFL instituted the NFL Draft in 1936. Players signed with teams that offered the most money, or if the money being equal, players chose to sign with the most prestigious teams at the time, who had established a winning tradition. As a result, the NFL was dominated by the Chicago Bears, Green Bay Packers, New York Giants, and Washington Football Team. Eventually, the ownership of the franchise teams became convinced the only way for the NFL to have enduring success was for all teams to have an equal opportunity to sign eligible players. At a league meeting on May 18, 1935, the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles proposed a draft be instituted to enhance the possibility of competitive parity on the field. His proposal was adopted unanimously that same day. 6 number 1 picks have quarterbacked their teams to a Super Bowl title. Those quarterbacks were Joe Namath, Terry Bradshaw, Jim Plunkett, Troy Aikman, John Elway, Peyton Manning, and Eli Manning. The lowest drafted quarterback to win a Super Bowl is Bart Starr, who was taken number 200 overall in 1956. That's 1 spot lower than Tom Brady, who went number 199 in the 2000 draft. Then there's Kurt Warner, who wasn't drafted at all in 1994 and went on to win a Super Bowl 6 years later. The first NFL draft began at Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Philadelphia. That was on February 8th of 1936. 90 names were written out on a blackboard in the meeting room from which the teams could choose. As no team had a scouting department, the list was created from either print media sources, visits to local colleges by team executives, or recommendations to team executives. The draft would last for 9 rounds and had no media coverage. The first player ever selected in the draft was Jay Berwanger. The draft was recessed on the first day and continued and finished on the next day. Art Rooney, owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers, chose Byron White in the first round of the 1938 draft, despite White's known public declaration he would not play professional football and would instead begin work on his Rhodes Scholarship. White, however, did agree to play for the 38th season after Rooney publicly gave him a guaranteed contract of $15,000, double what any other player had ever made in the NFL. In 44, the Eagles used their 20th round pick on Syracuse fullback Norm Michael, but Philadelphia was unable to contract him because he'd enlisted into the Army soon after college. It wasn't until 55 years later, when he was flipping through his local paper, that an elderly Michael saw a list of every Syracuse player selected by the NFL and learned he had once been drafted by an NFL franchise. The 1960 NFL Draft marked a turning point in the draft's history because of the pending arrival of the American Football League, as it became a high-stakes competitive affair. In 1976, former NFL wide receiver Paul Saleta first coined the moniker Mr. Irrelevant to refer to the last overall player selected in the draft. In 1980, Chet Simmons, president of the year-old ESPN, asked Pete Rozelle if the fledgling network could broadcast coverage of the draft live. Although Rozelle did not believe it would be entertaining television, he agreed. In 1988, the NFL moved the draft from weekdays to the weekend, and ESPN's ratings of the coverage improved dramatically. In 2006, ESPN received competition when the NFL Network, which had launched in October of 2003, began to produce its own draft coverage. In 2010, the NFL moved to a 3-day draft, with the first day encompassing the first round, beginning at 8 p.m., the second day encompassing the second and third rounds, beginning at 7 p.m., and the third day concluding the process of the final 4 rounds, beginning at 11 a.m. in the morning. In the 2018 NFL Draft, the first 2 evenings aired on broadcast television, with Fox and NFL Network carrying a simulcast featuring personnel from both the NFL Network and Fox Sports. The NFL Draft kicks off tomorrow evening with coverage around the world.